Hi, in this tutorial I'm going to demonstrate how to make repeating tileable patterns in Illustrator that are comprised of linear elements like your ash pattern. So just like doing something like the sandstone pattern, you start with the tile border. So using the rectangle tool, rather than clicking and dragging, just clicking once and you can input the height and width in pixels, and if it's not in pixels here, you have to go up to Illustrator Preferences and change the units to pixels. Let me just show you where that is. Preferences, Units and Display Performance, change General to Pixels. Great. Now this is going to be our tile border, this object that I just created, so I'm going to select its subpath, which is underneath the layer, and I'm just going to call it tile border. And so let's say we need to create a pattern with repeating lines at 45 degrees. So to do that, well, first of all, let's lock our tile border because we don't want to affect that. And we're going to turn off its fill and stroke later. Right now I'm just leaving the stroke on so I can see it when it's not selected. Now to make constant linear elements, we can just use the line segment tool, and that just allows you to click and drag out lines like this. Now for this one, easiest way to make sure we're making lines at 45 degrees or any regular angle, we can turn on Smart Guides. So that's under View, Smart Guides, or Command U is the shortcut. And that just shows if I go over an important element like the border of this object, it lights up in blue, tells me I'm on the path. If I go to the corner, it tells me I'm on an anchor point, and so on. And you can see that it shows me that when I'm moving up this way, I'm on a 45-degree angle going through the center of the object. So once you have Smart Guides turned on, go down near the corner until the 45-degree angle lights up here, and click and drag past the other corner, and so the 45-degree angle line lights up here, and just release. And now we get a line that's exactly 45 degrees, and you can see it extends beyond the border here, and that's okay because the only part of the pattern that will repeat is anything inside this square. By going outside here, we're just making sure we don't accidentally make the line slightly too short. Now we've got to repeat this element, and we do that by selecting it. And normally if we wanted to just move and copy it, we could hold down the Option key. We're using the black arrow now. Hold down the Option key, click and drag. I could hold down Shift to make it move regular in a regular direction. But that's to do that many times, and to make it regular would be a bit of a pain, so let's just undo that. And we can use our Transform tool. So we can go up to Object, Transform, Move, and we'll get this option box, and let's say we want to have these spaced every 10 pixels. So change horizontal to 10, vertical to 0, and press copy. Instead of pressing OK, make sure you press copy. So you can see it's made a copy and moved over 10 pixels in this direction. Now we have to have that occur again and again to fill in down to the corner here. And the easiest way to do that, rather than going through that process again, if we go up to here, back up here to Object Transform, there's a shortcut for Transform again, which is Command D. So Transform again. Now I can just hit Command D, Command D, Command D, so on and so on until it goes right to the corner there. Now this side's not filled in, so we have to do the same thing. So Object, Transform, Move. Instead of 10 pixels, we have to go negative 10 pixels. Make sure you don't press OK, because I will just move it without copying. You have to press copy. And then Command D, 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 Command D, Command D to fill it in. Now, we have to turn off the fill and stroke of this tile border. So let's just unlock that, and we can select it here just by pressing this button in the Layers palette, and highlight the stroke and click the red line so there's no fill and no stroke. Now we also want to make this pattern opaque. So that means behind the black lines there's a a white fill behind everything. You can't put a fill in the tile border because the tile border has to be the bottom thing in the stack of sublayers, but it also has to have no fill and no stroke. That's how Illustrator recognizes it as the tile border. So we can just grab the tile border, drag it onto the new layer icon, and let go, and it will duplicate it right above. So this one we can just give white fill and black stroke and then turn off the stroke. So it's just got a white fill. And this will make our pattern opaque, and we can just call this white fill. Okay. Now to make the pattern, just like in all the other examples, select everything, including the tile border, the white fill. You can see everything is selected here in the layers palette. Open up the swatches, and then just click and drag this in here. And if I'm just going to turn off this layer for a second, the visibility, turn on a new layer, and I'll create a pattern. And with the fill highlighted, go to the swatches and select that, and you can see it's a repeating pattern. Now if I want to scale it so it's a little tighter, then I can select the scale tool here, hold down the tilde, the little button above your tab, click and scale down, hold down shift to make it scale regularly, then let go of your button and it gets smaller and smaller. You can see the stroke is getting lighter though, and there are two ways to fix this. Because remember, when you're producing something for print, all your lines have to be black in this case, but also your strokes can't go below a certain value, and right now these may be going below that value. I think it's 0.35 points. So if I just turn on this layer again, I can select all these items. So this is the construction elements. I'm going to deselect the white fill and the tile border, and I'm just going to turn up the stroke on these lines. I'll make them something pretty heavy so it's obvious. The big, oh, that's a little too heavy. Something really obvious, like 4 points here. Now if I want to recreate this pattern, I just select all of these items, including the tile border and the white fill. Open up my swatches palette, click and drag all these things. Then before I drop it on that original palette, hold down Option and drop it, and we'll update. And you can see it's updated the pattern that I created to increase the fill. It was driving my eyes crazy to look at that actually. Whoa. Turn that off. I'm just going to undo out of that. Now the other thing that you can do, and I think this will work, you can go to the Illustrator Preferences and go to General. And right now